Hey, hi, happy life, happy journey, happy day, happy Thursday. So grateful to be here. So grateful to have you guys. There's like a baby back there having a great time. That's life. Wow. Youth, baby, beautiful day. It's all happening. It's all happening now. And I'm so grateful to be here with you and to hear that they're crying, they're screaming for more Facebook Live. I know. So happy to talk to you. I'm so grateful to share with you a continuation of last week. Last week we were talking about death and life through death. And so today we're starting, I have 5 meditations. Hey, Beth. Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here. I have 5 meditations on strategies and practices for bringing an awareness of life through death to our everyday practice. That's the idea today. The idea is, how can we look more closely at our life? How can we feel more alive, more aware by contemplating our death? Because what really happens is that we tend to separate ourselves from others. And okay, let me just speak in the I. Hey, Dee, I tend to separate myself from others and maybe even feel a little bit superior. Like somebody's going through something and I'm like, oh, too bad. Hey, Kathy, too bad. I feel like or so glad I'm not doing what they're doing. I'm so glad that I'm not in their position. And maybe I feel a little superior because I'm not in their position, or I've already done that, right? So I tend to separate myself, and that helps me, that separation keeps me from being involved with people. And instead, we want to see the mortality in everyone and everything, because that's the great equalizer. Death comes to us all, doesn't matter how rich or poor, where you are, how good or bad you've been, it equalizes everybody. And by becoming more deeply aware of our own finite mortality, it intensifies our experience of every aspect of life. So this is what I want to talk about today. I want to keep it at like 15 to 20 minutes max, because I think my Facebook Lives have been too long in the past. We're going to keep it at 15 minutes and we're going to cruise through this. Elisabetta, hello, great to see you. So I want to share with you the ideas that I'm getting. I'm reading this book, The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. It's freaking amazing. I love it. He uses ideas from everyday life, from history rather, ideas from history to isolate these 48 laws of human nature. And so some of the ideas on this is from his law of the denial of death, or death denial. Hey, Kathy, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Kathy's like, it's never too long, but we're busy and I want to get the information to you so that you can use it. So here I want to start with a quote by Dostoevsky that is really cool from the book that I really loved. So this is Fyodor Dostoevsky. When I look back at the past and I think of all the time I squandered in error and idleness, lacking the knowledge needed to live, when I think of how often I sinned against my heart and my soul, then my heart bleeds. Life is a gift. Life is happiness. Every minute could have been an eternity of happiness. If youth only knew. Now my life will change. Now I will be reborn. Dear brother and sister, I swear that I shall not lose hope. I will keep my soul pure and my heart open. I will be reborn for the better. Fyodor Dostoevsky. It's written a letter that he was writing to one of his colleagues, and I love the quotation because yes, Dostoevsky is a great writer. Hello, Isabetta. Hello, Larry. Great to see you all. And others, I can't see everybody unless you comment. So if I'm not saying hi to you, please forgive me, but I'm just so grateful you're here. So here's the idea. My father is still doing amazing for his state. He's in hospice, but this triggered something. The shadow of mortality was intensified in my thinking and feeling about death because of the relationship or this experience that my father's going through. And it's called the paradoxical death effect, because our emotions are rawer and more sensitive when we have a near death experience, either in ourselves or with somebody else. It makes us aware. It makes us feel more alive. And in the past, in past human history, we had a much deeper connection to our spirit world, to God, to an afterlife, and there were lots of rituals around death. Plus, people experienced death regularly. It was like, the body would lay in the house for days, or a day at least, before it would be taken away. People would come by and see the body at the home. Now people die, boom, they call the mortuary, the body's taken away somewhere, and it doesn't show up until it's an open viewing and they're in a casket, not even looking like themselves. I remember at my mom's funeral, I walked up, I was like, okay, this is going to be hard, seeing mom in the casket. I walked up and I was like, that doesn't even look like mom. Bye. Mom's not there. It reminds me of the biblical phrase, why are you seeking the living among the dead, right? But we used to have a much more, visceral experience of death. It was much closer to us. It wasn't whisked away and hidden. Today, we are, science may have obscured our sense of the afterlife, right? And death is largely invisible. We rarely witness the passage of someone. We rarely witness somebody's death, and we're not as aware. We're not as aware of death. So here are 5 strategies and practices, meditations on life through death, right? So here's 5 things we can do right now in our lives to help bring forth a deeper awareness. Hey, Ruthie. Hey, Minor. Great to see you. Claudia. Yes, Claudia said she learned a lot from her dad's passing. This is exactly the point, that we must take these situations and incorporate them into our lives to become more aware. We're going to talk about that. That's one of the strategies, Claudia. Woohoo! All right, so strategy 1, how can we look more closely at life and death? Strategy 1, make the awareness of death visceral, right? When you've had a near-death experience, man, I went off a 150-foot cliff in a car one time. It was a Volvo, so, I walked out without a scratch. But that was a near-death experience, being upside down in a car, careening down a cliff. You're out of control and you didn't know what was going to happen. So when we have those experiences, we can meditate on our own death. The samurais used to meditate on their death. They felt that the origin of death was in the gut, in the viscera, right? And so they would meditate in the gut on this feeling of death. We can catch the moments. Here's what we can do in our lives to get that sense to meditate on death is the moments when we're falling asleep, that in-between moment between we're moving from one state of consciousness to another. This is where we can feel ourselves pass from one form of consciousness to another. This is as close to the death experience, right, that we're going to feel in our awareness. Can we catch that? Can we make an intention to be more aware as we're falling asleep at night, to get a sense of how we shift from one state of consciousness to another? This will help us diminish our anxiety about death as we imagine our own death or contemplate a near-death experience. So we are so blessed by grace. How many times have you just barely missed a traffic accident, just barely missed getting hit by a car, just barely missed, think about those times. It will bring closer, will make our awareness more visceral. That's strategy 1. Strategy 2, awaken to the shortness of life. By the way, I really want to acknowledge this is from Robert Greene's book, The Laws of Human Nature. I think it's super important that you don't think this is all coming from my brilliant mind. I'm brilliant, you're brilliant, but this I got from Robert Greene, and I want to share it with you because it was really impactful to me. And I want to acknowledge him. He's a brilliant author. So acknowledge the shortness of life. Strategy 2, think about when we're on deadline. Oh my God, the last few days I have been amazingly productive. I have this deadline that I'm working on. Things are getting closer. And I was thinking just the other day, if I could only be this productive every day, right? But when we have a deadline, we start getting wow, we're really productive. We're really moving. But without a deadline, we're less productive, right? So it's the same with death. We must think of our mortality as a continual deadline. We could be dead tomorrow, right? And even if we live to 95, 95 is a drop in the bucket in the vastness of time, right? So why are we trying to live? Like somebody said one time, why would you want to live to 95? Well, try being 94, right? That's the answer. So we want to we want to contemplate and awaken to the shortness of life. And that will increase our sense of accomplishment because we'll be doing more, and we'll decrease our bitterness about squandering time. So strategy 2 is awaken to the shortness of life. Strategy 3 is see the mortality in everyone, right? When something happens, when we have people are dying in a hurricane, when people are dying from Ebola, not Ebola, Ebola. Oops, from the Ebola virus. Wow. We start to see death as this great equalizer. To bring it home, think about the people in your life. Look at the people around you, your loved ones, and people at your home, people at work, and imagine their death. Imagine their death. This will help us see what we miss about them. We'll see what's really unique about them. We think, oh man, if that person wasn't here, well, I would miss this about them. I would miss that about them. Oh, when they do this, I love it. And that annoys me. All of those things, the things that annoy us will become endearing. It'll actually be an amazing practice to start imagining the death of the people in our lives, because that will help us see them and their uniqueness in every person. And then we can broaden that to strangers. We can look around at strangers. You're at a stoplight or you're in traffic, look around and think that every single person in 90 years, including ourselves, won't be here. That will help us begin to bring this awareness a little bit more viscerally. Think about the billions of years, the billions and billions of people that have gone before us on this planet. Or when you're hiking and you're out looking at nature, look at the Grand Canyon, look at huge pieces of topography and see the development of millions of years of development in the earth. Billions, right? And this will help us keep from exaggerating our own importance, and will help us see that we will all experience the same thing, right? Death is the great equalizer. So seeing the mortality in everyone will help us increase and see how rich our lives are because of them. It will help us become closer to them. It will help us appreciate them more, right? So this is all part of the truth that the more we contemplate death, the more alive we are. The more we deny death, the less living we are, right? So this is about living. This is about getting the most out of life. This is about bringing an awareness of our mortality to make life more vivid and more real. So number four, embrace all pain and adversity, okay? We try to avoid pain. I was talking about that on Tuesday when I got the great pleasure of substituting for Jerry on his Facebook Live. I am constantly looking to avoid pain, looking to avoid the visceral aspects of life. And a lot of times what we do is dip into compulsive behavior or addictive behaviors or drugs or eating or shopping or Netflixing or whatever it is. We do these things to distract ourselves from the pain and adversity of life. Or we restrict ourselves so we don't fail. Why even start? If I don't do anything, I can't fail, right? So these are some ways that we don't embrace the pain and adversity of life. Nietzsche had a quote about this. He called it amor fati, the love of fate. And he says, my formula for greatness, this is Friedrich Nietzsche, my formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati. One wants nothing to be other than it is. Not in the future, not in the past, not in all eternity. Not merely to endure that which happens of necessity, but to love it, right? This is completely consistent with the Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhist teaching that we should, the slogan is, give up all hope of fruition. The Tibetan Buddhists have these slogans from the 14th century, and one of them is give up all hope of fruition. Because if we're hoping of something, we're putting ourselves in the future, or we're hoping that it was going to be as good as the past, we're stuck in the past. But we'll never get out of the same thinking that got us in the present, right? If we're stuck in the future or stuck in the past, hoping it'll be better one day, the relationship will be better, my body will be better, my life will be better, this job will be better, any of that, or how good it used to be, takes us out of the present moment. So if we give up hope of fruition, hope is a way of denying the richness of the present moment. And so giving up hope of fruition brings us to the present moment and helps us to accept and open up gently to whatever is so. And that is the only place we have control. Viktor Frankl, the great Holocaust survivor and student of human nature, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that the only power that we have is in our ability to respond to the external stimuli. They took everything away from him. They took his wife, they took his kids, they took his life as they put him in a concentration camp. He survived, but they couldn't take away his power to choose how he was going to react to what was happening. That's our only power. That's our only ability. Our ability to respond to what's happening is our responsibility. Hey, Susie. Hey, Sandy. Larry, I'm not going to read this just yet. Andu, Amanda, so beautiful to see you guys. Thank you. So here's the piece with Viktor Frankl, that our ability to respond to life, no matter what it brings, amor fati, as Nietzsche says, is our responsibility. It's our responsibility to respond to life and to open up gently to whatever is so, to love it, because this will take us to a deeper realization of the sublime. This is strategy number 5 for living more fully through a contemplation of death. Open to the sublime. Death is a threshold that we all must cross. We all have to cross this. It's the ultimate mystery of life, because no matter what, we really don't know what's on the other side. So we experience life when we're at Rythmia on the medicine and we look at the night sky. Even when we're not on the medicine, you look at the night sky, oh my God, it's just all the billions of stars, and how far that light that we're receiving now are stars that might not even be there. All of this contemplation gives us a sense of the billions of years that it took for life to unfold, right? What chance event that caused humanity to live when other species very close to us didn't? All of these things help us bring the truth of the chance nature of life, how sublime life is, how unique, how just 1 or 2 things in our body are out of order and we're out of life. 1 or 2 things in society or culture diminish, we're out of life. We're in this bubble and we think it's also important and fixed, but it's not fixed. It's not fixed. And so, even looking at quantum physics, all of the advances of science, right, have brought us to an awareness that there's so much that we don't even see, right, that we don't even see, we're not even aware of, that's happening. Or when we travel, we see vastly different cultures. All of this brings us into connection with the sublime, with the sublime nature of the mystery of life, that this is such an amazing chance that we have. And it's all so delicate, so delicately put together. And if one thing is out of balance, the whole thing is off, right? This is how precious life is. And by opening ourselves up to the sublime nature of a flower, of the night sky, of the baby, of birth, of death, all of it brings the mystery of life back to us. I want to bring you this quote from Michel Montaigne. Montaigne was the first man who invented the essay, right? At the beginning of when the Gutenberg printing press in the 1500s came and we started printing books instead of handwriting, copying them, new forms of writing were invented, and Montaigne invented the essay. He wrote a book called The Courtier on how to be a court attendant, but it was the first essay. So he writes, "Let us rid death of its strangeness. Come to know it. Get used to it. Let us have nothing on our minds as often as death. At every moment, let us picture it in our imagination, in all its aspects. It is uncertain where death awaits us. Let us await it everywhere. Premeditation of death is premeditation of freedom. He who has learned how to die has unlearned how to be a slave. Knowing how to die frees us all from all subjugation and constraint." Wow. Premeditation of death is premeditation of freedom. What a powerful line. So this is the piece that the 5 strategies for meditation on death and becoming more aware of our life through our death. 1, make the awareness of death visceral. Awaken. 2, awaken to the shortness of life. 3, see mortality in everyone. Contemplate our own mortality. Death is a great equalizer. 4, embrace all pain and adversity. Give up hope of anything getting better than it is right now, because right now is when it's all happening. It's all in the now. Number 5, open to the sublime. See the sublime nature in everything, in the new life of a bud, in the new life of a baby, in the end of life, in the chance that we're alive, in the night sky, in the vastness of the Grand Canyon, wherever you can find it, and open up to the sublime. Open up to how amazing and this chance that we have is. All right. I think that's my Facebook Live. We're 20 minutes. Woohoo! So I want to just thank you all so much for joining. It is really, thanks, Scott. He goes, deep. Yo, deep, brother. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be able to speak to you and that you join for these meditations. I'm really grateful. I'm wishing you all a beautiful day and a recognition that life is moving through you in strange and mysterious ways, and that today is a day where you are more of who you truly are, more of who you really are, more self-expressed, more in love, more compassionate for yourself and others, more loving in your heart for yourself and others, more aware of the gift that this is. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. And I will see you next week. Happy day. Much love. Thank you, thank you, thank you.